If these guys have good games, their teams generally have a chance to win. We'll see how that plays out tonight as we are underway. And you will notice with the Bulldogs, they are starting Nicholas Claxton for the first time of his young career, the freshman out of Greenville, South Carolina, getting the start. Tyree Crump also getting the start, just his second start of his career as he started in Georgia's last outing, which was a disappointing loss to Mississippi State.
Well, Saban Lee at the point guard gets to the rim, and by his defender, Dave, as good as anyone that you'll see in conference play, has been able to control the offense of Vanderbilt simply by putting the defense at a disadvantage.
Georgia coming off that 72-57 loss at Mississippi State. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt coming off a tough loss at Auburn, 93-81. They fell behind early, just couldn't get over the hump. Matter of fact, they were down 22 in the first half, cut it to 7 right before the break. Then Auburn hits a 3 to stretch it to 10. Got behind again by 20 in the second half, cut it back to single digits. Just not enough in the tank down the stretch. As you look at the Georgia starting 5 coming on your screen with Crump, Jackson, Parker, Bates, and Claxton.
Let's see if they get the basketball inside to Nate early. And he goes and gets it himself.
2 rebounds. Does that tap count as a third? We'll see. But he could not convert.
Well, he got his rebounding average up, and you see Vanderbilt's starting lineup with Lee, Evans, LaChance, Roberson, and Obina. 11 different starting lineups on the season for Coach Bryce Drew, just trying to find the right mix.
Evans can't buy the jumper, and Georgia back the other way. Bulldogs last in the conference in scoring points. They are based around their defense, which has been spectacular this year.
Offense, not so much. And one of the reasons why, I think, is because they're missing J.J. Frazier, obviously. But I think they need to play at a much faster tempo. Most of their offense is going against a set defense.
There's Bryce Drew now in his second year. Of course, last year down the stretch got this team rolling, got into the NCAA tournament. Look, they've had a couple of bad losses. They're 8-15 on the year. But for the most part, they've had opportunities to win these games.
They really have, Dave, and they've played, I think, 9 top 25 teams on the season. #1 strength of schedule of all the land. And so this is a team that will be fearless no matter who they're facing. As you just said, they will be in the basketball game.
Obina got to the rim, laid it up and over the cylinder. It's 4-0 Commodores.
I like that 6'2 freshman out of Nigeria. Obina's made tremendous strides. He has good mobility and a nice soft touch for a big guy around the rim.
6'10", 234 is Obina. Roberson the rebound off to LaChance. Vanderbilt has, you talk about tempo, they weren't exactly a fast-paced team, but of late they have become that. They've scored 81 points in 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, you got to be able to score points, and Coach Bryce Drew told us that they went to the small lineup against Florida where they were able to come back and get it to within 6 or 7 points. Used it in the Auburn game as well. I think with the absence of Luke Cornett, they're better as a small lineup type of team.
Speaking of Luke, he just signed a contract with the New York Knicks.
He sure did.
Today, yeah. Porzingis out with a torn ACL, and they called up Luke from the G League. Now, member of the Knicks. Congrats to him.
Well, right now, points hard to come by for Georgia, and that's a challenge because this Commodore team can score.
Georgia games, last 5 games, averaging over 20 points a game. He's 44% from behind the arc. He's at 16 of 36 coming into tonight.
Well, Vanderbilt's always had quality shooters.
There's Mark Fox, and they got off to a slow start against Mississippi State and did not respond very well in that contest. Matter of fact, I think one of the surprising things from this team. Georgia's been a good rebounding team all year, but against Mississippi State, I'd look at it 2 or 3 times. They only had 20 rebounds. They got out-rebounded by 17.
Yeah. And they come in averaging, or they out-rebound teams by typically 6.5 per game, 3rd or 4th in the league. And Yante Maton having an atrocious start, just a lid on the basket for him. I like the fact that they're going to him.
Chance, who's been very aggressive offensively since Matthew Fisher-Davis, his counterpart in the backcourt, left with an injury. Bad shoulder, had surgery not too long ago, done for the year. And LaChance has really been looking for a shot since that injury.
Riley LaChance has been playing outstanding basketball as well. We talked about his ability to knock down the three-point shot, shooting 48%. Last year, 3rd best in the league, and this year he's showing his ability to get to the basket and showing some explosion as well.
T-Shawn Hightower, who's been out with the flu the last 3 games, on the court now, as is Pop Giada, the senior out of Senegal, who busted onto the scene, I guess is the best way to put it. Been bothered by injuries almost this entire year, but he came out against Mississippi State and hit 4 out of 4 from behind the arc on Saturday, and he's back on the floor now.
Well, he's got good size. I really like Pop Giada. He's 6'7", 220, and can play the shooting guard or the small forward. And so when you see that type of size and ability to score, that makes him a dangerous on both ends of the floor.
Giada wearing number 5 for the Bulldogs. Claxton sets a high screen. Hightower at the free throw line. He comes off the bench and buries a jumper. He's been waiting to do that for a while. He's been out for about 10 days.
Yeah, out with the flu. And, you know, Coach Mark Fox, that's something that he talked to us about immediately. Just the ability to have him back in the basketball game makes a difference. You need every piece of the puzzle in league play.
Georgia's first points of the game and a carry against Saban Lee, the freshman out of Phoenix. That'll get us to our first time out. Vanderbilt off to an exceptional
loss, which is 150 RPI or more in UMass. So the resume is there. What they need to do now is simply go out and get W's.
Turtle Jackson trying to find a little bit of room to work. Hightower off to Claxton. Maton trying to post up on Roberson. And there'll be a foul underneath on Roberson. And this is what was worrisome for Bryce Drew, matching Roberson up on Maton. He can't afford to have, or neither one of these coaches can afford to have their best players in foul trouble.
Well, if you're Jeff Roberson, you have to play more intelligent than that, right? The double team was coming from Brown, and so you just need to play behind him. Don't get yourself a silly foul. Instead, now you put yourself in jeopardy, and you see Coach Bryce Drew made the switch. He has Roberson on Claxton now.
Evans off to Saban Lee.
Nice job in defensive transition by Georgia that time.
Evans, corner 3, no good. Tapped around right in to the hands of Giada. Maton screen. Jackson underneath, and there's Claxton. Lays it up and in.
I like that. It's a little bit faster. I wish they hadn't given William Jackson, Turtle Jackson, the name, because sometimes I feel like he's moving like a turtle. I think that Georgia has to go faster. They've got length. They have athleticism. They need to put more offensive pressure on defensive teams and attack that basket.
The chance cross court. Saban Lee. His corner 3 is good. Saban just a 23% shooter behind the arc. He is now 13 out of 53 on the year. He was just 1 of 11 from behind the arc over the last 6 games before knocking that one home. Saban Lee, though, his MO is getting it to the rim, much like Maton just did. Boy, that is the 3rd or 4th time Yante Maton has been at the rim, and the big fella can't convert. You can see the frustration on his face.
Yeah, you have nights like this, and he's certainly having one. Similar plays on both sides of the floor, using the ball screen, and then when you have the help, obviously, then you have to make sure that you go and help as well defensively. Claxton doing a nice job of going up and going to the rim. Good finish by Georgia.
Boy, Bulldogs just 4 points in over 6 minutes. Vanderbilt can make him pay. A chance. The tap. That's the offensive goaltending. Dave Valentine calling that one.
Veteran officiating crew. Let's take a look at it ourselves. I definitely think it was the right call. Still in the cylinder. Love Brown actually trying to go to the offensive glass. And if you're Georgia, you need to do a better job of dominating the glass. Got so much size. Two teams that have tremendous size that I think could be lethal on the offensive and defensive glass are Kentucky and Georgia. Two teams that I think as the year goes on, they will get better on the glass.
You know, officiating crew, we've got a ton of experience. Tony Green, 7 Final Fours in 30 years. You got TV Ted Valentine. He's had 10 Final Fours in his career. He just called an offensive foul as Yante Maton picks up number 2.
Yeah, correct call. Hooked his leg with the left arm. Just having a tough night. These are one of these nights where if you're Yante Maton, you want to be crafty, try to get to the free throw line. Also one of those nights where his teammates need to pick him up because this Commodore team proven that they can beat anyone, knocking off TCU in the Big 12 versus SEC Challenge.
But if you're Vanderbilt, you've got the guy that leads the league in scoring, second in rebounds, sitting on the bench right now with 2 fouls. What can they do with that advantage?
Well, I think defensively you make it extremely hard for them to score. Offensively, they just continue to do what they're doing, which is sprint the floor, dribble, drive, and knock down some shots.
Georgia gets the turnover. Jackson. Bayday. Coming off the bench, his first shot no good, and the Dogs have started 2 of 11 from the field.
Unbelievable. I mean, a distinct size advantage at the rim. They're making million-dollar moves and having penny finishes. You have to complete at the goal.
Just like Roberson just did. His first basket. Got it fouled on the shot. That'll be 2-shot foul. I got to tell you, we sit a unique spot here where we call the game from down courtside. We're almost eye level with the floor. Hard to see the three-point line, but my man Fish was all over it as we went to break. He said it was a 3 from the get-go.
You know what, Dave? That is a huge foul. You had a chance to put the Bulldogs away. You got the leading scorer, leading rebounder, Yante Maton on the bench, and you give him 2 easy ones. Could have been 3. Let's see if Vanderbilt's able to maintain the momentum that they've had since the tip.
Vanderbilt at Auburn on Saturday fouled Bryce Brown 3 times on 3-point shots. He made 2 of them. Toy can't get it to go. That ball will belong to the Bulldogs. Yante Maton on the bench with 2 fouls for the Bulldogs as they trail by 8.
Well, so the question now with Yante Maton on the bench is who do you go to get baskets from? I still think they have a size advantage with Derek Ogbede. They need to get him on the block. There's a lot of ball screens, but if I'm Ogbede, on the block is where I want him to be. He has good size and good touch in there.
Georgia doesn't spend a whole lot of time on the floor without Maton. He's second in the conference in minutes per game.
There he is. That's easy. There's no one on the floor, including Baptiste, who's got good size, Dave, that can stop him. He should be able to score every single play. They need to run their offense through him until Vanderbilt proves they can stop him or they start to double team.
Fede coming off 3 points and no rebounds in just 10 minutes against Mississippi State. Did not have it going in Starkville.
Well, those are 2 completely different bigs in Abdul Adu and Eric Coleman, and they have more size. Vanderbilt really just doesn't have the size to compete in the paint with Georgia.
Beautiful chance. He's being defended by T-Shawn Hightower. Toy driving in the lane. Off the window. It's good.
Nice. He's coming, Dave. 16 points at Kentucky. Remember when Vanderbilt made that run last year, he actually hit 5 threes with a career high of 18 points against Texas A&M. Able to knock off Florida 3 times. This is when Vanderbilt caught their stride last year. Will they do it again?
Yeah, that won't go. But a foul on the rebound.
This is what Joe Toy should do. He did it a lot in the Auburn game. Hasn't shot it well from the three-point line, but it's something about when you play defense and a guy shows you the basketball, you seem to get up in your stance or have to respect the jump shot.
Actually, that foul was against Mike Edwards of Georgia. Everybody thought they were staying on this end of the floor, but Vanderbilt will have it. Under 10 first half basketball. Cleavon Brown knocks on the 3.
If Cleavon Brown starts to knock down that shot, you talked about it. Pat Bradley talked about it in the Florida game. When you have 4 guys that can knock down 3-pointers, it makes it so much more challenging to guard.
Cleavon Brown was just 5 of 30, 16% before we got started here tonight. Juwan Parker, his first basket. So Juwan, the redshirt senior, on the board, and it's a 9-point Vandy lead. Bayday slides off LaChance. Gave him enough room to shoot, but LaChance couldn't make him pay. Hightower.
Tough shot. Listen, that wasn't a great shot, but I like it simply because they're trying to get early offense. They're trying to score before the defense of Vanderbilt sets up. I think if Georgia can do that, their offensive struggles will continue to improve.
Timeout. Vanderbilt is high.
The best chance of getting the #1 seed when it comes to March Madness, playing against an Alabama team who I think is probably still one of the more underrated teams in the country because they're so young and they're continuing to catch their stride.
Willis off to Saban Lee. 5 on the shot clock. Roberson defended by Claxton, gets it off to Lee, and he knocks it home. That is 2 threes this evening for the freshman.
Confident stroke. 24 points earlier this year at Arizona State. And the 6'2" guard from Phoenix, Arizona is playing well.
Nice move. Ogbede from Gianna.
He should have no less than double figures in this first half. I would go to Derek Ogbede every single play until Vanderbilt proves that they can stop him.
And Mason about to check in. Roberson. Guarded by Claxton, and loose ball. Claxton wins that back.
Good hands.
Roberson just 2 points on 1 shot tonight.
Well, he's having problems dealing with the size and length of Georgia. He's going to have to be creative. He needs to look at more mid-range jump shots as well instead of trying to go up over the length of the Bulldogs.
Peyton Willis had it, lost it. Timeout on the floor.
Well,
He's only attempted 1 shot, but he does have 3 rebounds in 9 minutes. He played all 40 minutes in the loss to Auburn on Saturday night, where he posted a career-high 30.
Played an outstanding game.
He has been on a tear of late. 5 straight games over 20 points for Roberson.
The first person to do that since John Jenkins. Remember that jump shot.
He can score a little bit.
Not to mention, both of those players, they would never say that, but you're obviously thinking about some individual honors as well, right? I mean, how much pressure do you put on yourself if you're about to catch the great Dominique Wilkins if you're Yante Maten? I think he's going to start playing more of Yante Maten-ish right now.
There he goes. Out of the timeout, gets a look at the rim. This time converts his first points, and Georgia has cut this to a 6-point game. So
if you're Vandy right now, you have to continue your execution offensively. You got an 8-point start with Yante Maten struggling.
Foul against Parker. As Saban Lee was driving to the basket. That's what Saban does. 2 shots coming up.
Dave, in the game of basketball, having some type of inside presence is so valuable. And what we've seen from these two teams today are inside presence in two different ways. Vanderbilt doesn't have back-to-the-basket guys that they can really throw it into. Besides Roberson, he's undersized in this game. So they're going off of penetration. On the other hand, Georgia is doing it off of the bounce pass and establishing their inside presence via back-to-the-basket, Yante Maiden and Derek Alpeda.
And Saban Lee converts a free throw. Saban having a nice first half, 9 points. He's been really up and down. Last 7 games, it's double figures, single digits, double figures, single digits. Not shooting well, is shooting well. It's just that consistency hasn't been there for Mr. Lee.
This consistency starting to be there for Yante Maiden, isn't it? And you're right. Listen, that's the sign of most freshmen. Not all freshmen can be Colin Sexton-like or Tremont Waters or Trey Young-like. You're going to have some ups and downs. The maturation happens at their own time.
Parker had a chance for the steal. Now we'll see Jackson with it going the other way, and the chance fouls him. Yante Maiden, after he re-entered the game, a couple of touches down low, a couple of baskets.
Sure, this is more of what we're talking about. Has good post position, and since he struggled, it looks like the Commodores have decided not to double team him. My assumption is if he continues to keep going, then they will begin to double team him and make him throw the basketball out.
6:05 to go in the first half. Maiden to the bench. They'll get it inside with Hammonds, who just checked in. Another youngster, a freshman out of Norcross, can't get it to go down.
I like that decision, though. Young players at home, everybody wants to be Kevin Durant. They want to be LeBron James. Learn to play with your back to the basket.
Nothing but the bottom of the net for Mr. Jeff Roberson. His first 3 of the game, give him 5.
Another one of our seasoned seniors. You see the height. Rashawn Hammonds, 6'9", Riley LaChance, 6'2". They have got to get the basketball inside to him.
Here's Parker. Alpeda, he's quickly double teamed back to Parker. Good ball fake. Foul and count it. He'll head to the line.
It looks like he has a master's degree, huh? That was very studious of him. Nice shot fake, a little robotic-like, but I love his poise and attention to detail, using the glass like good old Larry Bird used to do when he would get on the side. And I think he's critical. Coach Mark Fox told us at the shoot-around, the more that we can get from our wing players, the better off that our bigs like Alpeda and Yante Maiden can have more room and ability to score on the interior.
The Masters, of course, Juwan Parker already 1 master's degree, working on his 2nd master's degree. Graduated and got his undergraduate in 2.5 years.
Nice. See, you've got 2 different matchups. You have speed and quickness for the Commodores. They're using that on their end. That's why if I'm Georgia, I want to use the size on the other end. Rashawn Hammonds has huge size advantage. Let's see if they go to him.
Hammonds rolls around the rim. He'll get it back. Parker for 3.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, you didn't see the immediate score, went in and out, but once you start to get the inside-out action, now you start to see wide-open three-pointers versus contested jump shots. Both teams now starting to play to their strengths.
Roberson working on Claxton. And Claxton swats that one away.
Not going on down there tonight, little fella. 6'11", Claxton.
Planks it. But Hammonds is there. That won't go. He'll try it again. That won't go. And the tie-up. That'll get us to a
ability because of the non-conference work, and in particular the Big 12 SEC Challenge that the SEC won.
6-4 was the total on that Big 12 SEC Challenge. (29-24). Vanderbilt out in front. Saban Lee.
Really like this young guy. You know, he's continued to improve as the year has gone on, but his athleticism is underrated. He's had some outstanding dunks, and his first step is something that I want you to keep an eye on throughout the duration of this game.
Loose ball, and it'll belong to Vanderbilt. I think a foul will be called against Claxton as he trips up Roberson. Hey, gymnastics will take over the SEC network as it does every Friday night. And, of course, when it involves SEC teams, it's all top 25 clubs. Number 9, Alabama. Number 5, Florida kicks it all off. Then it's number 3, LSU, and 24th ranked Missouri at 8:30 Eastern Time. Friday Night Heights right here on the SEC network. And, of course, you can catch that streaming live on the ESPN app.
And the arenas will be packed. Excitement all across the country in this conference when you look at not only gymnastics, but women's basketball. Both Mississippi State on the men's and women's side playing outstanding basketball. And right now, this Vanderbilt team has absorbed not only Yante Maton coming back in and making his presence known, even after getting a couple of fouls, but Jeff Roberson, one of the 2 seasoned seniors that we talked about, is really holding his team in his first half.
Gets such great rotation on his shots. Just a really, really fun guy to watch play, Roberson.
Rotation's not any better than yours, Dave Neal. I've seen.
Thank you for acknowledging.
Church League's finest, first team.
That's not saying much.
Juwan Parker that time was trying to draw a foul, ended up missing the shot completely.
Good tap. Saban Lee, the little guy, 6'1".
I tell you about that athleticism, stunting like his daddy, amply.
Who could carry the football pretty well. Florida State went on to have a nice career in the NFL. Georgia, just one of their last 7, make it one of their last 8. And Vanderbilt has matched their largest lead at 11 right now.
This tempo right now is not to the liking of the Bulldogs. It's going too fast. And I think Georgia needs to speed up when they have the opportunity. When the defense is set, take their time and run their set offense.
Here's Parker trying to take Willis.
I don't like that shot. I want it right there if I'm Georgia. I want it inside of Derek Arbede. Guards, if the man has him on his back, throw it inside. The basketball will eventually come back to you once people start concentrating on the big guy.
Dante Maton about to check back in for the Dogs. So we go to a minute and 30 left here in the first half. Willis out of the corner. That won't go.
Beautiful pass, though, by Riley LaChance.
Arbede with 8 first-half points. Boy, what a difference a couple of days makes for number 34.
Well, not only a couple of days, Dave Neal, but different teams completely. The front line of Vanderbilt is really no comparison to the front line of Mississippi State in length or size or athleticism.
And a whistle. Hey, Sunday, be sure and catch an afternoon of women's basketball. First at 1 o'clock Eastern, Florida and 7th-ranked South Carolina. Then number 18, Georgia taking on number 11-ranked Tennessee. Both games right here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app. I don't know if you caught it or not, but Mississippi State and South Carolina had a nice hoop game on Monday night in Starkville. Sold out, exciting game.
No question. Well, you look at the NCAA championship last year, you knew that would draw a crowd, and 2 rough road games coming up, in particular for both of those women's teams when you look at Tennessee and South Carolina.
The largest crowd ever in Humphrey Coliseum was Monday night for that women's game. Woo! Mississippi State, South Carolina. Under a minute to go.
Now, if Mark Fox wanted to, I don't think they will, because they don't play at this pace. He could try to get a 2-for-1 here, try to score. in the first 5 to 8 seconds, and then would have a chance before the half. I think because of some of their challenges, you see Tony Green coming to the side, not sure what he's trying to figure out.
Oh, I think he's making sure the clock is correct. And they added 0.7 seconds.
Thank you, sir. I knew you would know.
If I don't, I'll make it up. Here's Mate just inside the arc. Buries that jump shot. Yante now with 6.
And Dave, that time Derek Ogbede had Jeff Roberson in the paint, which is the reason why they sagged off of Yante Mate. Worked out well. Georgia's going to get a 2-for-1, as we talked about.
The chance being hounded by Hightower. Riley, little fall away. Boy, that's a tough shot.
Go ahead, Riley LeChance. He is really catching his stride.
Seconds, almost a takeaway on Bede out the window. That won't go. And Vanderbilt, that's the second time they have had it down there on the baseline and just kick it out of bounds.
Well, fortunately for them on this end, though, they've been ultra successful. Riley LeChance's biggest difference in his game this year versus last year is his ability to handle the basketball. The better your handles, the quicker you are offensively.
Hightower bumped.
Are you kidding me?
By Willis. He will have 3 free throws with 1.8 to go before halftime. And that look pretty much sums it up. Well, Bryce Drew.
Yeah, Coach Bryce Drew. There's just no reason that you even go after that. Vanderbilt blocks 3.4 shots per game, which is second to last in the SEC. I understand what he was doing. He was trying to contest it, but you have to make sure that you don't hit the opponent. This is a huge momentum opportunity for the Bulldogs now.
Hightower off the back of the rim. He has not been a good free throw shooter this year. 12 of 30, 40% coming into this game.
And if you're Peyton Willis, Dave, you're hoping that he misses all 3. Make that trip to the locker room a little bit easier.
Now 12 of 32 at the line this year. Well, the shot doesn't look horrible. Carter Jackson getting a lesson in basketball from his head coach. And he gets 1 out of 3, does Hightower. And
could have been a lot worse, right? Well, that's a good look.
8-point lead. Vanderbilt 39-31. 2 points. But Yante Mates is going to need to have a big second half. Georgia trailed by as many as 11 a couple of times in this game. Roberson, that won't go. He'll stay with Vanderbilt.
Like that nice play out of the half by Bryce Drew, head coach of Vanderbilt, to try to go right at Yante Maten. The strategy was to try to get that 3rd foul. If you get 3 on Yante Maten, you take him out, and you hope that the second half goes like the first half. Nice job by Yante Maten playing intelligent.
But GK Obina, just a freshman out of Nigeria.
4-star prospect by ESPN.com. And starting to look like a 4-star prospect. You see the change, Dave. They're now double-teaming Yante Maten. Want to make sure they dissuade him from becoming active on the interior.
Saban Lee. Had that one stripped out of his hands, but Roberson comes out of there with it.
Vanderbilt playing like the tougher team right now to start the second half.
Roberson tripped up in the lane.
Well, here you see on the inbounds, confusion that time, not communicating on who was guarding Obina. Actually, a nice set play out of bounds under. Quite frankly, just caught the Bulldogs asleep at the wheel. You mentioned at the outset the importance of this basketball game, Dave Neal. And even though you can lose on the road, we mentioned TCU. I think they're one of the last 4 in, or maybe last 4 buys with Joe Lunardi's bracket. This is a good win to get if you're Georgia, but Vanderbilt will not be an easy win, and particularly here in Memorial Gymnasium.
Obina lost it.
Beautiful.
Obina throws it down. And Derek having some kind of game, and now in double figures to lead all the Bulldogs.
Well, you see the difference. They started with Nicholas Claxton in the first half. They decided to try to use his speed and length and versatility. Now they're starting to go with 2 bigs. They're saying, we got 2 monsters on the interior. Can you match up with them?
Tough matchup there. Roberson off the backboard. Vanderbilt back up by 10.
The team's really starting to go at Yante Maton, making him work on the defensive end. At Mississippi State, Abdul and Eric Holman went at him as well.
Back to Yante. He drives and spins.
They found something. They're going to continue to go at it, like taking an axe and chopping down a tree. They have a side screen that they're using, and that pick and roll has been successful on the last couple of trips for the Bulldogs.
Two of the best going toe-to-toe right now. Roberson being defended by Mate. Kick it out to Evans. Saving Lee. Had it stripped out of his hands by Turtle Jackson. Turtle tied up, wants a timeout, and he will get one.
That's why Georgia doesn't push. Tough job that time by Turtle Jackson, but
preseason player of the year candidate and certainly living up to those expectations.
Sure.
Bryce Brown at Auburn has been on a roll lately.
He's in the conversation.
I mean, where do you put it right now? If it ended right now, who do you give player of the year to in this league?
Well, the way Auburn is dominated, I would have to go with Bryce Brown. I believe you pick the best player on the best team always has their opportunity. With 8 games left, though, we'll see how it shakes out.
No doubt. It's an interesting conversation, though.
How about
offensive foul against Obeyday?
And how about Coach of the Year, right? People talk about what Coach Bruce Pearl is doing. I think he's probably the leader for National Coach of the Year. But how about Coach Rick Barnes, picked 13th? And we're talking about them as a possible #1 seed. And then Coach Cal, youngest team in the country, still bringing that team along slowly but surely.
Saving lead. Roberson took it right into Jackson and couldn't come away with a steal and then a foul. Saving Lee getting hacked on the way to the basket. He'll step to the free throw line. Now going with Yante Maton, his 3rd.
Well, we showed you the top 25 wins earlier, and this is why you see some of the seeding. You talk about Tennessee and Auburn at 2 and 3 seeds, Kentucky 5 seeds. There's a few ways you could look at this. You could look at it as you have multiple opportunities to enhance your resume, but you also look at it as it's going to be a challenge to enhance your resume because of the competition throughout this conference. Like a lot of other leagues, the Big 12, I think one of the deeper leagues in the conference, Big East, ACC as well. The difference in this conference, I believe, is you just do not have any easy wins. Vanderbilt, the bottom of the league, and we see how well they've played all year.
There it is. Georgia in that first 4-out discussion. Arkansas as a 10 seed. Mississippi State. I mean, they're starting to play some good basketball, and you talk about that strength of schedule. You wonder how much of an impact that'll have on them if they continue to play well.
Well, their overall strength of schedule right now is 112. So they're one of the teams that truly have the ability to advance because of the strength of the league. As you see Juwan Parker, the senior, stepping up. I think what you have to look at for Mississippi State is they're going to have to do a little bit better in league play, and even in the SEC tournament, than say a Georgia who has a better schedule, or even an LSU down the stretch. But I think they have the talent and ability to do it, quite frankly.
Third foul on Obina. And the three-point play converted. It is a 45-38 advantage for the Commodores as GK heads to that Vanderbilt bench.
Feels a little interesting to see Vanderbilt only up 7, though. It seems like Vanderbilt, Mayton has struggled. They've had some turnovers, hadn't been able to get it inside. It's almost like they just allowed Georgia to hang around, but those threes in a game make a difference.
They're going to start calling him Saban 3 instead of Saban Lee. Blocked by Brown, but Mayton stays with it.
Yeah, just too big and strong inside. If it were me, the basketball would touch the paint with either Mayton or Bede every single trip down the floor for the Bulldogs.
A chance. Now Evans. Shot clock goes under 10. A chance.
Whew, that's nice.
Three. No good. Tapped around right into Obede's hands. Double team immediately, gets it to Parker. Jackson elevates and buries it.
Beautiful. Even when you don't score inside, it puts the defense at a disadvantage. Until the defense is at a disadvantage, you're taking contested shots. Georgia not having to do that anymore.
Georgia has cut this, the Bulldogs.
And I think they're good enough to go again this year. We mentioned their quality wins, Dave. Listen, the cream will rise to the top. It's not going to be easy. LSU, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi State, all fighting to secure that bid.
Hey, Willis turns it over. Georgia's down 5. And Mayton has a chance to cut it to 2 if he can convert at the line.
Well, it's what we talked about. Listen, every game, we mentioned it earlier, it's about matchups. And so for Georgia, I like that, Yante May. You need a little physical toughness. Coach Mark Fox talked to us about it earlier. He said that toughness, that ability to be assertive and the aggressor, we lost a little bit of that with J.J. Frazier. And so now he's wondering who's going to step up. I think Yante Mayton is that guy, Dave.
Well, I think that'd be a pretty good guy to take the lead role and that department, but he can't convert the free throw line, and Yante's been good at the line. I mean, he is an 83% foul shooter, outstanding for a guy that's been there 160 times.
You know, on the other side for Vanderbilt, you want to continue to pick this tempo up. It's slowing down to the liking of Georgia. The way you pick the tempo up, you've got to get some baskets, and on the defensive end, you get some stops and turn it into transition baskets.
Saving Lee. A little bit out of his range. Brown hits the deck. He pops up. It'll belong to the Commodores.
I love the tenacity of Vanderbilt. They're undersized to a certain extent. You have Baptiste out there who's got good size at 6'10", but they are attacking the glass and are able to keep up with Georgia.
Cleavon Brown with an offensive foul will give it back to the Dogs. Have a chance to tie with the 3 here, obviously, with 14 minutes to go. Georgia's had a tough time winning games on Vanderbilt's campus over the years. Just 14 wins in 69 games. Parker, good ball fake. Steps inside the arc and can't get it to go. Bede, big rebound. He can't finish. Baptiste gets it off to Willis.
Again, rushed it a little bit. Woo! That would have been nice.
Jackson quickly back the other way. Off the window. We got ourselves a one-point game.
That's a perfect example of his handle allowing him to be a little bit quicker offensively. I love the side-to-side motion that time by William Turtle Jackson.
Right Riley LaChance. He has 9 points, just 1-3 tonight. Bulldogs on a 9-0 run. That is a three from Willis.
Peyton Willis, third start of the season versus Tennessee, starting to come into his own a little bit now.
Baptiste picks up the foul.
Again, when the Commodores are knocking down a three-point shot, you have multiple teams that use that three-pointer as a weapon in this league. We're watching one tonight in Vanderbilt Commodores, Florida Gators, Auburn Tigers.
And Parker gets that jump shot to go down. And we're back to a 2-point game.
That's so nice.
Toy gets the basket.
The reason why I like it is he knows he hadn't been shooting it well from the three-point shot. Good scorers, not shooters, but good scorers know how to get to the spots on the floor where they feel comfortable making a basket.
Well, that's a nice move by Yante. 14 now for the big fella.
Pass you, Dominique Wilkins.
He just became the 4th all-time leading scorer in Georgia Bulldog history. It's hard to digest. You just passed Dominique Wilkins.
That's tough. He can say that to his children for as long as he lives.
Yante, stop, pop, won't go. Toy sees a little seam and count the basket. Parker picks up the foul. A three-point opportunity on the way. He's a tweener, but the NBA game has changed so much.
It has. It really has. I said this the other day, and I think it's the same. Because of the success of Golden State, back to the basket game has become like your normal check-in at the airport. And the 4-out 1-in is like the TSA pre-check. Not many people have that back-to-the-basket game anymore. Right. Everybody's going away from it. But I actually think the more back-to-the-basket game you have, and particularly on the collegiate level, because the skill level is not as high, the better you are.
Yante has it rolling now. 16 points, 6 rebounds.
You mentioned Auburn down against Texas A&M. Every game is going to be a battle down the stretch here.
Remember, Auburn's been behind by double figures a bunch of games this year. I think 7 times. They've gone 5-2 in those games. And I think they're 3-1 in SEC games when they've trailed by 10.
Sure. Well, listen, without question, a team that I think that can advance to the Sweet 16, depending on the matchups, even further. But I don't think anyone in the country realizes that Texas A&M's got it clicking again. So really, that's a top 10 matchup. It's just not shown in the AP polls right now.
I think we quickly forgot. I mean, that we expected Texas A&M to contend for an SEC championship this year. That's how good they were coming into the season. And I think it got lost when they had some lineup issues and some roster issues.
Vanderbilt doing a nice job, Dave, of just staying ahead. As long as you can stay ahead, you keep the pressure on your opponent, and particularly on the road, and you keep this crowd in it as well.
Yeah, he gets fouled as he cuts across the lane. That'll go against Joe Toy. That'll be his second. By the way, how about St. John's with wins over Duke? And then now #1 Villanova tonight.
Sure.
They're shaking things up nationally. And their team has been struggling.
Well, there's always hot teams that get going down the stretch. That's why one of the hottest teams in this conference right now is Mississippi State. We talked about the win over Georgia, the win over Alabama. Coach Ben Howland has done it in his 3rd year, no matter where he's been.
Right.
And so I expect Mississippi State to keep the gas pedal to the metal as we go down the stretch.
So Toy kicks it out to Willis. Roberson, where he wanted to shoot that, just couldn't get the grip on the ball. Here's LaChance. Off to Toy, shot clock at 5. LaChance inside, left hand. for Riley. Well, chance. Just give me a chance, Coach.
I didn't know you were a southpaw, Riley. The chance. Look at this. Shot clock going down. Just go to my left hand like Kobe used to do. Now, I'm not comparing him to Kobe by any means, but that was tough, Riley, the chance.
Yeah, you did. You just did. You just did. Don't take it back.
All created by the shot fake and not able to get that free throw. You know, you think about the free throws for Riley and Jeff Roberson at Kentucky. You know, if they were able, Jeff Roberson's able to knock down that free throw. You got Joe Toy that fouls with 2 seconds left to go in the basketball game. The free throws that Riley missed. This Vanderbilt team is much better than their record indicates.
They have had some tough losses. The chance gets the second chance and converts now as a dozen.
In practice yesterday, he made Riley knock down some free throws to kind of end the practice, just wanting to continue to instill confidence in Riley.
You know what I liked about that, Riley, the chance, and crowd doesn't like that foul on Toy, but he misses the free throws against Kentucky. Riley comes back and hit 11 straight at the line.
That's right.
Right after that.
You gotta love it. Gotta love it. Listen, confidence wavers amongst young people in general, but especially in college basketball. There is nothing more important than having confidence in between the line for a young player.
So the youngster Hammond's at the line. He misfires.
And I think Georgia will get more before the season's over for Rashawn Hammonds, 6'8", 227-pound freshman out of Norcross, Georgia.
Vina trying to set the screen with chance. Here's Toy. As he toys with the Georgia defense right now.
You had that one in your back pocket, didn't you, Dave Neal?
Mayton off the back of the rim. Roberson, pull-up three. Won't go, and a foul against Obina underneath. Hey, Saturday, it's an afternoon of college hoops right here on the SEC Network.
National champions, Kentucky, in the SEC tournament, where they won that SEC tournament championship with Jenkins and Festus Ezeli and Jeffrey Taylor.
That was a pretty good team now. Whew, those guys were good. And John Jenkins could shoot. He and Chris Lofton, two of the best shooters I've seen in this league in the last 20 years. So Mayton at the free throw line, converts there, and Deontay getting close to his average again. Now with 18 points, came in averaging just shy of 20 a game, first in the conference. 7-point game. The chance. Roberson working on Claxton. Willis shot clock at 3. To the rim, tries to scoop one in. They're going to count it goaltending at the basket.
Mark Fox, you know, just continuing to rub his head, frustrated. I don't think that ball was going in. We don't know, but the crowd helped this officiating crew make the call. And after you guard for 28 seconds, it's frustrating when you get a goaltending call at the end.
Boy, Vanderbilt double teams him in a hurry as he is heated up here in the second half. There's Parker. That won't go. Tapped around. And a foul on Riley LeChance.
Well, one thing that I love about the two teams we talked about earlier in Texas A&M and Auburn is they go to the offensive glass. That's something that Georgia has to do. And it's something that most young players don't do at the high school level. But when you look at Nicholas Claxton, he has tremendous length at 6'11", a little light, but they'll put muscle on him at 215 pounds. The freshman out of Greenville, South Carolina, just alone in the offensive glass, he should get 4 or 5 offensive rebounds a game.
His dad, Charles, of course, played at Georgia, was drafted in the second round, coming out as a junior, but at the time you had the opportunity to go back to school, and he did so. Phoenix Suns drafted him, and that didn't work out as Willis steps back and knocks home the three.
Eight of 19 from behind the three-point line. You play the Commodores, and you better respect the three-point shot.
And a hold by Obina underneath. That'll do it for.
Go to your right shoulder, and he can. He can, but he loves to go. Most big guys have a preference, whether it's left shoulder or right shoulder, and typically it's to their strong hand.
Deontay at the free throw line now, 3 out of 4. He is at his season average in points, has 6 rebounds. You brought it to my attention during the break is that one of the reasons Vanderbilt has this lead is they're actually hanging in there with Georgia on the backboard. Georgia, one of the better rebounding teams in the conference. They are second in rebounds, third in rebound margin. And Vandy 12th in rebounds.
Sure.
But right now it's all tied up in that department.
Well, that's why right now the Southeastern Conference is good practice for the NCAA tournament, because every round that you advance, you're going to have to change your scouting report according to who you're matched up against. And if you're matched up against Vanderbilt, you had better guard Riley LaChance in the three-point shot.
LaChance has helped Vanderbilt hit 9 3-pointers. Riley with 15. Jackson in and out. You know, Mark Fox telling us today, he says, you know, our shooting percentages have not been great. We've just missed a ton of open shots, and that was another one. Vanderbilt makes him pay in the corner. Joe Torre.
Wichita State, Auburn, so many teams that are in the top 25 make free throws. It separates the good teams from the great teams.
Largest lead of the game. Obede trying to spin on Brown and a push. Cleveland will be whistled for that.
Well, and right now, I like the mindset. Georgia, we talked about it earlier. This Georgia team has a distinct size advantage. Derek Ogbede, obviously you see him at the line right now. He's 6'8", 245 pounds. And so even though the game has went to ball screens, he does much better if he's inside, going against Jeff Roberson, who's 2 inches shorter and about 25 pounds lighter. The same thing for a guy like Yante Maten. The rest of this game, even though they're down 14 points, they need to pound it inside, and they've got to continue to try to get some stops on this end.
Taken away by Hightower. Hightower out of control.
Nice job of Hightower trying to get to the basket, but a better job of Riley LaChance, the senior, the veteran, giving up his body. This is what Jimmy Dykes was talking about in the studio, how the ball moves from side to side against good defensive teams. The more you rotate the basketball, the harder it is.
Torre just picked up an offensive foul.
That's what we call a veteran move right there. Just waiting for a little extension. Gives Ted Valentine the bow. It was an extension of the right arm. I thought it was a flop, quite frankly.
But you saw the arm.
But the arm extension. Right. I mean, nice job by Juwan Parker.
And Parker left it short, right into the hands of Willis, and he threw it away. Georgia, no field goals in 5 minutes and 20 seconds now.
Well, this is a good example of what happens when you get to the NCAA tournament. You have to score points. No matter how good you are defensively, that's what Virginia is doing better this year. They're scoring more points while they defend.
Chance points to Willis. Willis elevates. Connects. That is 11 three-pointers in the game. And Willis has a couple of those. Actually 3. And now up to 13 points. Dante Mate. Hey, gymnastics will take over the SEC network on Friday night. Top 25 matchups abound. Number 9 Alabama, number 5 Florida start things off at 7, and then you can catch LSU and Missouri, number 3 versus number 24. That's coming your way at 8:30 Eastern Time. Friday Night Heights. You can also catch that streaming live on the ESPN app. Where will Georgia go for a basket? Vandy ends a stretch of about 6.5 minutes without a field goal.
Well, they're doing a nice job on the interior of scoring, but this is the end where they're going to have to improve to get back in this basketball game. They've got to get some stops.
Last 4 Vandy field goals have been from behind the arc. The chance. Parker back the other way. Jawan.
And this is tough for Georgia. Georgia likes to play with an extremely slow pace. And so when you're behind 15 on the road and you need to speed it up, it's challenging.
Roberson. Parker grabs the rebound off to Jackson. Yante. Vandy finishes.
Don't know if he walked or not, but he did it so quick the officials didn't call it. Nice pass on the interior. And right now, Georgia's still trying to chip away at this lead. They almost have to get a stop for the duration of the basketball game.
Timeout Vanderbilt, 3:07 to play. Doors leading by 13. We'll step aside. Back to the.
Also, I think as you get into league play, the ability to defend every single night becomes more of a challenge. It takes energy. It takes attention to detail when it comes to scouting report, and it takes it by all 5 guys.
Here's the chance. Pulls up, hits a little jump shot. And Riley now with 17. Saban Lee leads Vanderbilt with 19. Here's Jackson underneath, and he lost it. Out to Saban Lee. I got to the gym this morning. Saw a bunch of guys in here I didn't recognize playing shirts and skins hoop. It was all the Vanderbilt, ex-Vanderbilt baseball players, all the pro guys. Some of those boys had some game, like Dansby Swanson. He was lighting up from behind the arc. He can fit right in with this Vanderbilt team the way he shoots. Oh, it was good to see. Tony Kemp was out there.
I was going to ask you, did they have church league game or possibly, where Vanderbilt needed them, could throw them on to this type of
There are a couple of guys out there that could play. And let me tell you something. There's a reason that they're professional athletes. I thought there might have been a few scuffles along the way. Those guys are getting after it pretty good now. Deontay Mate. He and Roberson scrapping for the basketball. It'll belong to the Commodores. .201 to go. 15-point game.
Well, this won't sit very nice with the Georgia Bulldogs as they now go to a little 3/4 court pressure just to see how it looks. I think they're going to have to add something like that to their game, simply because of what Antoine Walker was talking about, the inability to score in this league. And even if they get to the tournament, they're going to have to manufacture points, and they're not getting enough in their half-court offense.
Willis threw it away right to Giada. Bulldogs Stand prosperity. Throw it away.
William Jackson struggling a little bit tonight. And that's where they're going to have improvement. Whether it's Jackson, Crump, somebody at the guard position is going to have to control the tempo, be able to pound the basketball inside, and make shots from the perimeter. If Georgia can do that, they're still going to have a chance to dance in March. If they don't display the ability to do that, along with continuing to play solid defense, then they won't be there.
15-point game. Georgia cut this to 51 to 49. And they actually had a chance, had the basketball with a chance to tie or take the lead, couldn't convert. And since then, it's been all Vanderbilt.
Well, two things happened tonight. Number one, Vanderbilt team that comes in making 8 threes per game, knocked down 11 threes. That's a 9-point differential. The second thing is your go-to guy in Yante Maton struggled in the first half, and even though he had good points, didn't never really find his game. You see the streaky shooting started 10 of 14 here in the second half, and then over the next 6 minutes and 32, 0 of 6, and then since then 2 of 4.
Under a minute to go. This would be a nice win for Vanderbilt. They needed it.
Let me tell you something else too, Dave Neal. I don't think you want to see the Commodores right now. We talked about the Kentucky game, the way they played coming back versus Auburn. This is a team that you won't get credit for if you win right now. But I think eventually by the end of the year, you won't get penalized by losing to it.
Vanderbilt doesn't score another point, this will be their 4th straight game at 81 points.
Well, they're going to score baskets, period. And they're guarding you now. They're doing a nice job.
Well, how about 81 being their number? 4 straight games with 81 points. That's what they're going to end on here tonight. That's great. Georgia sits on 66 points. Defense let them down tonight. Offense has been a struggle most nights for them, but their defense just didn't get it done as they give up 81. They've been giving up 66.